Okay. Hello, 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 hello. Sorry, we're having technical problems. Please let me know if you can hear us, if you've connected. You're not hearing the feedback, right? Okay. Success, where are you watching from? Sorry, hopefully we don't get this issue again. Okay, and so the video is not breaking and you can hear us clearly, right? We just want to get that out of the way so we can begin. Okay, so I think we should begin. So welcome everyone to today's live session. We have here with us Bukky Wonder, and if you're thinking of moving to Canada, if that's why you're watching, or you're looking to become a permanent resident, or looking to come to school here in Canada, we have the founder of an immigration tech company that has built a platform that connects, prospective immigrants and students to licensed immigration experts. So, welcome to the platform, Bookie. To my platform, Bookie.
Thank you.
Okay, so where would people start? Like what's the first thing people need to do if they're thinking of moving here? A lot of people have reached out that they want to come to school. Eventually, the goal is to do that and stay, work, and everything. While some don't want to come through the school route and they want to know what streams are available to come. So I think we should start with the school one. How do you think they should go about it?
Okay, so I think the first thing, hi everyone. I think the first thing is whether it's school, whether it is PR, is what is your option? It's not about this is what I want to do. It's about what is the option. Prior to Canada opening up and people could relocate, every other country you had to go to school.
Okay.
I think Canada was the very first ones, apart from when the US did lottery, that you could actually say you want to come. So I always like to start from there, that as much as some people have relocated via the permanent resident route and
Hmm.
it's still an option, the chances of people coming through that route has significantly gone down, but it's not impossible. Nigeria actually is number four. There was a release, I think, this week
Yeah.
of the countries, and Nigeria is now number four, taking over Philippines. We were not even on top 10. I think even as at 2020, we were not even on top 10 list. Now we're number four. So people are coming in. So it's just knowing. So now, if you want to come through the school route,
Hmm.
then you're looking at, obviously, depending on your age. If you're less than 30, I tell you, you can go anywhere in Canada. If you're above 30, then you need to start considering what field do I work in? Because the field you work in can affect immigration for you. So if you're in your 40s, you must, in fact, from 35 and above, people that work with us, our consultants would always say, okay, based on, if you're in engineering, for instance, now, as much as Saskatchewan has a PMP pathway,
Yeah.
it is not a good province to go to. If, let's say, immigration, the PR route or express entry is going to be difficult, because you
Okay.
have to look at it. Okay, what are my chances? Some people only have a diploma and they want to come and do a postgraduate diploma. Some people have a 1 year diploma.
Hmm.
So if you're coming and you have a 1 year diploma, already express entry is already against you. because you have less points. Degree will give you a significant point. If you have a diploma, the difference in points is very huge.
Okay.
So again, those are factors that goes into what are my chances, because your chances, if you're overseas, and your chances being here, it's not too different. I mean, there's always that 50 to 65 points that you get, but now you now need to say, okay, if I add these points to where I am right now, where would it get me? How many points would I have?
Yeah.
And that's what determines what province is better for you. So if you're less than, I'll say 35 under, you might
Mm.
still choose any province. You already have a degree, or you even already have a master's, then you're good. But if you have a diploma, you're already 40, or you are in your late 30s,
Mm.
then you now need to look at, okay, Alberta has a pathway right now that regardless of whatever you're doing, even if you work in knock, like in an unskilled per se or semi-skilled job,
Yeah.
I'll still get a PR. Or Ontario that has federal skilled trades, I'll still get a PR. Or that has even like the unskilled is construction workers and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
You will still get that. So then that's where I would recommend that, okay, you think about that, or the Atlantic provinces. So I think that depending on your age, the school, finding a school is the easy part. It's based on what do you want to study, what options are available, how much do you have. Those are the things that really matter when it comes to the selection of school. But I think the province part is one huge part that people miss out on when they're trying to come to school.
Okay. Okay. So the other thing people want to know is, for schools, are there options for let me just put it this way, affordable schools? Because they look at pricing, if you want to go to, let's say, U of C, for example, here in Calgary, not everybody can shell out 40,000 grand, you understand, to go to school. So in your practice, what do you do to help people come? Because there are lots of affordable schools. When people reach out to
So
you,
what's your definition of affordable schools?
affordable, let me say, let's leave 40 grand out of the question.
Yes.
Some people can muster 10 grand, you understand? People from all over the world, with what the UK has done to open their borders again, people are now able to save up and go to those schools. But not everyone wants to go to the UK. So
So what school would you find in Canada that is 10 grand?
um
So I'm asking these questions
yeah,
because that's where, again,
mm,
people are like, I just want to come to a school that is 10 grand.
mm,
In what we've seen,
yeah,
maybe only less than 2.5% of
mm,
programs would offer you 10 grand
okay,
for it to study. Most of the, I mean, the team is doing a lot of admissions, and on average, you're looking at, depending on the course.
yeah,
Someone is trying to do, I think, a master's right now in engineering, something engineering, and
mm,
the lowest fee we found was around $19,000.
okay,
That's the lowest fee we found.
mm,
For someone that was trying to do data science, we're able to find one for 13,000 plus.
okay,
So, and it's a 2-year program.
yeah,
So when you look at, again, affordability is very relative. You would not, maybe if you are looking to do
mm.
education programs, you would usually would find more affordable, even less than 10 grand
Oh, really?
for education. If you're trying to do like, you know, engineering education, whatever education you can find, if it's some health programs,
Mm,
masters even in health,
mm,
because probably because it's a priority, and you can even find 10. But in the grand scheme of things, and where
mm,
people really come, most people are coming to study business, most people are coming to now do IT, you would not find 10 grand. So again, being realistic
yeah,
about what affordability really looks like is very important.
okay. Okay. So we have a question from Olayinka from Nigeria, and Olayinka says, I'm in my late 30s with a family of five. How can I migrate to Canada?
If you're in your late 30s,
Mm,
up front, you're either looking at the school route, or you're looking at improving yourself through French skills. The French skills is one aspect that a lot of people that our consultants have recommended in the past 2 years, even before it became a thing. I remembered we added it on as an additional service in 2020, and at that time we didn't even know COVID was going to stay on for long
Yeah.
as much as it did.
Yeah.
But we're just like, you know what, this is an opportunity to stream.
Mm.
And now we have like three siblings from the same parents, you know, the sisters here. They all did French. They've all been invited. We've all submitted the application. It was because of French.
Okay.
In 2021, they took advantage. So if you are in your late 30s, can you study and write French? Nigerians can. We've seen people do it. We've trained close to 500 people.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry, not you know, close to 200 people on the French side of things,
Mm.
you know, that are, and at least, you know, about 25% of them who have written and they've passed and they've used it. Some of them only needed 12 points, some of
Mm.
them only needed 16 points,
Mm.
and now they've been able to. It's either that or you want to consider school. But then if you're
Mm.
considering school as a family of five or you have five kids,
Yeah.
you can't bring five kids to come and study in Canada unless you're unless you're really you because first of all, you know how it is. You're trying to go to school. You
Yeah.
have five kids that need to depend on you. And so you have to really look at it. You can come to Canada to school, but can you leave your kids behind and come first and then add your family afterwards? After a few months of being in Canada, then you can add your family. And that even gives you enough time. But you can't say you want to come with an entire family of five.
Mm.
The visa officer is going to challenge you because, again, admission is the easy part when
Yeah.
it comes to Canada.
Yeah.
The visa is, you need to have a strong study plan. So study visas, we've done a lot. Like last year we did 50, only one refusal out of that. But what is the strong point for everybody is your ability to be able to show that you're going back home. So
Okay.
if you want to come through school, that's possible. If you want to learn French to boost your points, and that is going to be available as long as Trudeau remains our prime minister.
Okay. All right. Um. So okay, Olayinka say three kids, so that's family
Okay,
of five.
family of
So
five. So
yeah. Yeah.
again, it depends on your affordability. I know a
Mm.
family that came with three kids, but can you afford it? So again, I always go back to, you want to do something, and what is the reality of it?
Mm.
If you want to come with three kids, can you afford it? So if you're coming, as a rule of thumb, if you're coming with your family, even though proof of funds
Yeah.
for living expense apart from your tuition,
Yeah.
it's $10,000 for the first person.
Mm-hmm.
It's extra 3,000 plus for each additional member of the family. So
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at about three. So that's about 12,000. So that's about $25,000 per year for your family. But that's just the minimum. If you're looking at a 2 year program, you're looking at $50,000 proof of funds apart from tuition.
Mm.
So you're looking at almost, so this, that means proof of funds doesn't mean you have to pay the money, but that means you're not looking at, depending on how much school fees you're paying,
Okay.
you're looking at probably 80 to 100 grand. The question is how many people can show that. So can Olayinka, who is asking, can
Mm.
she show that? If she can't show that, then she can prove that I want to come with my family and I can afford to.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the biggest. But you and I know that even 25 grand for a family of five, even though that's what Canada, it's almost impossible
So
to
for
live
but
off.
for express entry, that is what you
No,
need
because
to. Mm.
because Express Entry does 6 months.
Mm.
It's doing like the minimum, the base. Like if you were managing yourself
Yeah.
for the first 6 months, that
Yeah.
money is not supposed to be for a year.
Yeah.
It's in 6 months
Yeah.
because they expect that within 6 months you
You would
should
have
settle
gotten a
in,
job
you'd
and
have gotten a job and all of that.
okay. Okay, so Hamaris wants to know if you have a program where they can subscribe to for French because you did mention that you've helped over 200 people. And the reason why I think this is a good question is many, people from all over the world will, eventually listen to this, but we have so many viewers from Nigeria and many Nigerians don't think they can go and study for French. And then eventually, but seeing as you've helped 200 people, how did you do that?
So we have our tutors, and I believe the next class is in, this is February, March. The next class is mid of March is
Yeah.
when it's going to start. So I guess you're going to put like in the description, you can be able
Yes.
to reach out to us. You can send us an email. We can provide you with the details. Classes for French is for 6 months. Because if you're a beginner, right,
Mm,
only people that already have the language skills, they can do 1 or 2 months prep.
mm.
The tutors will always do an assessment, but if you don't speak at all, then you need to prepare for 6 months. The classes itself is for 6 months. 5 months is just to learn the basics and to understand, to communicate, and then the last month is to actually practice for the exam. You can write TCF or you can write TAF.
Okay. So for me, I want to give like a bit of an encouragement to a lot of people out there that are looking to come but haven't found a way. I think coming to Canada isn't really like a very quick destination thing. It takes time. It takes you to be purposeful and to be strategic. I originally was supposed to come here in 2012 and I didn't come. And when it got to 2017, at the time when I thought things were really bad, at home, I started in 2017 again, and it took me another year and a half before I could make it down here. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I had to go do a what's it called, a PGD program, which I applied to my BSc and became a second degree. So I know some people will hear, French of 6 months and it will be very discouraging and all of that. But I mean, if I can do it and if I know a lot of people that have done it, then I'm sure, a lot of you can if you have a plan. Success says he has a PhD in geomatics with a family of four. So I'm guessing that is husband, wife, and 2 kids. What is the best route for him? Does he need to study for a master's as an easy path to come to Canada?
It depends. Again, age is a factor. Even I don't know what his credentials look like right now, but if
Hmm.
he's saying a master's, he probably has a degree. I don't know how old he is, but it depends on your age, right? So your age will always be the biggest determining your age and your education, because most people have 3 years of work experience, which is the maximum Expo Century looks at.
True.
But also, it now also depends on. So let me piggyback on the French a little bit.
Mm.
Ontario did, if you go last year and you go and look at the draws that Ontario has draws, I think, under four main streams.
Okay.
Human capital stream. Human capital stream means like occupations that are in demand,
Hmm.
based on their economic forecast for the province. And you would always find things around business. You would always find, business related, um, tech and all of that. They
Yeah.
also have, and under that human capital, you have tech jobs. Last year, then you have French skill, based on French skill. Do you know that French skills was, they invited people at 320 something, 26 and above,
Okay.
for having French skills. And that French skill doesn't mean that you were scoring the highest. It just means that
Yeah.
you had the capacity and there was a point, even if it was 12 points,
Yeah.
that was assigned to you from that French. Meanwhile, the English draws that they did was 489
Oh wow.
for
Oh
the
wow.
same skill.
Yeah.
So for tech now,
Mm.
the people that had, when they did the French, because when they did French, they also, now they didn't just do everybody. They
Hmm.
also chose the people. Like they chose, like, okay, tech people but with French skills,
Okay.
health people but
Okay.
with French. So people like who are medical doctors and all
Mm.
of that, that have been like, I want to come to Canada. This is, Ontario has a pathway now for doctors and the rest to come, because it's a licensed field and most provinces never bring them in. Ontario is the first, and that was done last year. But when they did the draw that was attached to French,
Yeah.
it was lower. When they now did the draw that was just for everybody, it was 489.
Okay.
To score 489, you need to be
I know.
less
I
than
know. The like age first and
you need to
foremost.
be less than
Okay.
30. You
Okay.
need to have at least a master's. And 489, in fact, you can't score 489 unless you even have a family member.
Yeah.
Because if at less than 30 means that you're not losing any points
Mm-hmm.
on your age, on as far as CRS score is concerned.
Mm.
If you don't know CRS score, go and just do a quick Google and look at what that is. It's a breakdown of the score based on your age, your education. There's six main factors: your age, your education, your work experience. Under Express Entry, only 3 years is considered. Any other thing is the same point. PhD gives you more points. I think it's extra, maybe 7 or so points between masters and PhD.
Okay.
Then you also have your what's it? Your adaptability factors. You have your language skills.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to state that he has given us his age. As you can see, he's
How do
40 and he has a BSc. But using this scheme you're talking of, where you do the French thing and then you don't need to get four, in
you
the
don't
high
need to in the
480s.
fall. So
So for someone like Success now, would he be able to do
so
this
what
with?
so again it depends on your field. This is where consultation comes in, or this is where your research comes in to say, okay, what field am I in? What has happened? Because again, one thing, at least Ontario to a certain extent, Saskatchewan to a certain extent, these
Yeah.
provinces are consistent.
Okay.
Compared to like other provinces that may not be consistent. These provinces are quite consistent in what they
Okay.
do.
So Ontario and
And
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. So you need to go and see what occupations did they invite last year.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. That's what we do. That we take the time when we are recommending and all of that. What skills? So if you're in tech sector and you can get the right score, it's a no-brainer. You are going to be invited for sure.
Okay.
As of today, if you're in a health skill, you're going to be invited for sure. Now, people who were in business skills that were in demand last year, we don't know if they're going to do them. But at least based on what we've seen with Ontario and what they've started even this year, they've done a French draw, they've done a draw for the health people, like I said, but
Yeah.
it's high.
Okay.
It's 476. So based on this guy's scenario, based on what I can just see,
Yeah.
of course, if he does French, if he's in one of those in demand occupation, he can come in through Ontario.
Okay. Okay. Success, I hope what she's explained, you've gotten that and you can see how you can use it to, to further your cause. Um, Olayinka has another question. Olayinka says that they have an HND in tourism management with 7 years working experience in the banking sector. Now, can Olayinka and family still come here to do their master's degree in Canada and move with the family? If you recall, Olayinka said they have 3 kids.
Yeah. So HND would not translate to going to a master's because HND for school, for immigration, HND and BSc are par.
Okay.
But for schools, HND and BSc are not at par. So most schools will not take your HND to go into a master's because it seems it's looked at as a postgraduate diploma rather than a BSc. So if you already have a postgraduate diploma, what I would recommend, which is what an HND is,
Okay.
what I recommend is another postgraduate diploma. Now, you when once you've worked for more than 3 years, these are some things that we've learned from experience. Once you've worked for more than 3 years in a particular field, it doesn't matter what you did in your degree, unless there's a real reason why you never practiced in that field and it makes sense to go back to that field. But you want to align your study plan to what you do right now or to your next pivot.
Okay.
So don't say, oh, because I studied, what did she study again?
I don't know if she put it on. Okay, banking
Banking.
and tourism
And
management. So at least expertise in two areas.
so you can't say, okay, because I studied tourism, now I want to go back to tourism with no tourism experience.
Experience.
Because those are things that kick people out when it comes to visa. Because the visa officer is looking at it that how can you create a career in this thing that you've never really worked in? Even though yes, you have a background in it, but you've now built 7 years experience. So you may not necessarily come in to do direct banking. Most times we'll tell people like that, okay, can you take your skills and put it into like business analysis, for instance, because you've worked in the bank, then do something that at least is going to give you a future in Canada, not just come and do a course for the sake of I just want to jackpot out
Okay.
of Nigeria,
Okay.
but it's
So
okay.
I've gotten three things. One, don't be discouraged if you have an HND because the way Canada looks at it, they look at it like a postgraduate diploma as well, right? It's on par. So if you have an HND, you can still come here and do a postgraduate diploma again in Canada. To be frank, that is what a lot of people here do. And as a Nigerian that I am as well, we are big on education. We come here and we want to do 2 courses, 3 courses, 5 courses, and all of that. I've noticed that, I've noticed that a lot of people here don't, sorry, so I've noticed that a lot of people here don't do as much schooling. You understand? All you need to do is, if you can come here and you do the PGD program and you get They still do experience where when you're finishing a program, they set you up with companies. Some people do that. Some
So
programs do
if you
that.
do a call, right? So yeah, so you can decide to do a call.
Yeah. Okay. So we have another question from Hamaris to say if one is 32 with masters, oh, that's a good age with
Yeah.
masters. Using the CRS tool with an overall 8 in IELTS, what is the minimum I need in French to up my score to the current nominated score? Must this person now do the 6 month thing that you're talking of with this profile,
Yeah,
32
with
and
this
masters?
profile. So if I don't know what her score breakdown is, but if I'm assuming that she has at least an 8 in listening, because as you know, listening carries a higher point. So if she has that, she'll probably be around 460 something. So for someone like you need about, because right now the series the draws are around 480, 489, 490s. So you want to make sure that whatever you're scoring gets you to that 480, 490. However, if you're in an occupation in demand, because you have a master's, again, depends on how many years of work experience you have, Saskatchewan becomes a possible option,
Okay.
depending on your occupation in demand.
Okay.
Depending on your occupation and what Saskatchewan has. Ontario also becomes an option. So for me, is it doesn't even matter what you score. Of course, you want to
Oh, so we have a score here.
okay
So currently 469 for what this person has
469.
done. So don't
So
you
she
think the French now should push it?
Yeah, so she should do so again for someone like her with even a 21 score, because you know French can give you up to 74 points.
Yeah.
So even with 21, which pushes her to
490.
490,
Yeah, to get
she's
it.
fine, because that positions her, she's now bilingual.
Yeah.
So it positions her for Ontario. It
Okay.
positions her for in Saskatchewan, depending on how many years of work experience that she has 70 something points, because you know, if depending on the score, she can get up to 10 points in Saskatchewan,
Okay.
because Saskatchewan have their own different score that is different from this regular CRS score. So she has good options, and again, it depends on if she's in a business field, she's game, because even one way or the other, depending on how a skill set is set up, there's always going to be an option. She might need to wait for a bit, but she has a very good option.
Okay. So one thing I want to ask that a lot of people have reached out to me to ask is because me, I know very well that Canada things change all the time. In fact, there can just be one new scheme that will help people and everything. So, what can you tell us? Is the latest scheme in the past 6 months that is still running and is helping people? Before you answer, I know that Alberta, I don't know what they did, but there's an influx of people where you don't even need to get up to 450 or whatever, and you understand, they just get them, yeah.
So the Alberta one is tied to a job.
Oh, okay.
So the obviously for people that have employers, even people like we have a client right now that we just submitted an application. She has a sister that owns a company, and you know who owns a tech company, and we were able to get her under the Alberta Tech Pathway because she also works in tech.
Yeah.
So we're able to use our sister's tech company and of course prove that she had the right skills. You know, she's a database analyst, she's coming to work in a tech company. So the Alberta one, you
Yeah.
need a job offer.
Okay, so that's for Alberta. But
Yes.
for the rest of the provinces, has there been anything lately that can make it a lot easier for people to come? And if there's such a scheme, in what fields, those are
So
available?
so Ontario is one that I just mentioned to you now.
Yeah.
There were no options for doctors before.
Okay.
You know, doctors or people in the medical field, because yes, you have nurses, but they were not bringing in physicians or orthopedists. Like they weren't bringing in any of those fields. Like
Yeah.
most times, once you don't qualify on the express entry for doctors and lawyers and all these licenses, you have no option.
Okay.
But so these things, every province, like so Ontario has that, but it's still like, can you still meet the cutoff points? Or do you still have like friends to at least help you to qualify at 300 and something points? Like 300 and something points is very low. You know, compare it. The only thing is, it just needs to have that French element
Okay.
to add to it to give you that option.
Oh.
And of course, there's New Brunswick. I think they're doing a job fair now. Like they do it yearly, and now they're going back. They're traveling. They're also doing some virtually take advantage. People have gotten jobs from those things.
Okay.
Go and set it up. You don't, you can, but make sure you have your IELTS, you have your whereas if you don't, most
I
times they
did
will
that.
ask.
I did that from Nigeria so I think in 2015.
Mm.
Back then it was New Brunswick and Saskatchewan. This Saskatchewan then used to also
Oh,
do,
really? I
but
don't
I
know.
think it's New Brunswick.
Yeah,
But
New
I know
Brunswick,
they were
yeah.
doing in Dubai. They were doing in Egypt. They were doing in
And a
Portugal.
lot of Nigerians have actually crashed that thing. Like
Mm.
when they, some people they didn't invite them, they crashed it in the
Yeah,
countries that they
and you go
went
and
to,
present
and
your
you go and present.
IELTS and
And
all
they
those
actually
things.
invited them.
Yeah,
They actually got because they were good at what they did, right?
yeah.
They already had their IELTS, they already had their West credential.
Mm.
So again, necessity is the or I mean was that what's that quote? Something is the mother of invention. Necessity is the mother of invention. So
Mm.
again, as you're looking at all these options, just because you're trying to do the school option doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of a PR pathway that might be a bit more of a jump or just a shot, right? So if you have those New Brunswick, you're in the occupations in demand, even if they don't take you,
Yeah.
if you can afford to go to any of the schools,
Mm.
sorry, any of the countries that is closed, because then you can afford to go there and just say, okay, you take your chances, right? Because maybe that's what it takes for you.
Okay. So on our group, the Canada Connect group, we had someone ask what is the hope for people that want to come and do like truck driving, right? Because I know a lot of people that drive trucks for companies and they make very decent living. What's that pathway like?
So recently they added truck drivers to the express entry,
Mhm.
and they added like I think 12 or 13 other
Can you remember?
provisions
Can
to
you
it.
remember them? Like, let's. Mm,
I don't remember them unless I open a business page to be able
okay.
to check.
Okay.
But I don't remember. I'll check now.
Mm,
But they added truck drivers, and but what it really means, and someone answered it correctly on the group,
yeah.
is it's still the same option. The only thing now
They
is truck
just.
drivers were not regarded as skilled trades, so they
Okay.
were not considered under express entry.
Mm,
But skilled trades is different because skilled trades is either you have a job offer or you have your red seal certificate. One of those two options would get you invited, even though they've not done any specific skill traits draw,
yeah.
but that option. So when you talk about truck drivers and all of that,
Mm.
there always need for them. Employers are always looking for them. So you have to get good if you want to
They
come through
need
that
truck
path.
drivers. They need people that are in the medical field, nurses. They need.
But then you have to know, like you have to do again, be ready to do the job, like the job search, right?
Mm,
It's intense to do it, but it is possible. There's several people that come through it, and sometimes like we get opportunities that come our way where somebody will be like, oh, I know this employer
mm-hmm,
that is looking for. It's once in a while because again we're not a recruitment firm, but we do
mm,
get that information. But again, those pathways are not, because most times when people bring that to us, they're like business development people.
yeah.
So they bring it and they're like, oh, I'm going to charge this to give access. It's not like they're charging for the job, but they're charging for that connection.
Yeah.
So again, when people are looking and looking, I want to get a job, it is possible, but most times people are just expecting it just because it's permanent, because it's a job. It has to be completely free. It's not the case. In fact, it's more expensive than a regular pathway.
Mm,
Obviously, not as expensive as school, but it's always more expensive than you paying somebody to help you with your school pathway, to help you with your PR pathway. So
mm.
if you have that in mind, opportunities come up. And we last year we had not a truck driver, we had some roles that came. We don't advertise that because if we have it, we go within our network
Yeah.
and we share it with them.
Okay. So that means it's important for people to be in your network. And in that light, Hamaris is asking if we can post your details. Yes, we'll post your details here. Um, her company's name is Shirah, and you
Yeah,
can
you can
find
find
you
us
where.
on Instagram, on LinkedIn, well, on all of them, but Instagram obviously and LinkedIn is our most active.
Okay.
We do also post, we post informational posts.
Mm.
We do we had a webinar session last week, which obviously you're sharing screen. It's also a bit more personal.
Yeah.
And yeah, we do have, and then we have our consultants that if you want to do the one-on-one approach. And like I like to tell people, we're not a law firm. We don't do billable hours. So and also we believe that consultation is a full service.
Yeah.
So which means that if you come, as long as you come prepared, you will get the answers to your question. Of course, there's only so much you can get done in 30 minutes, but you will get the value for what you are. That even if you decide that you want to do it yourself, of course, we always like people to work with us, but even if you decide that you want to do it yourself and you just need clarification on what should I do, where should I start from, you will get that information too. Because I understand some people are DIY people, which is fine, or some people can, they can't afford to use services and they just want, so whatever that looks like. And right now we have a discount up until Monday.
Okay.
For our consultations are always $100 USD, but
Mm-hmm.
we have a 50% discount because of the info session we had last week.
Okay.
Till to Monday, sorry, till Monday. I don't know why I
So
clicked it.
Monday the 20th.
Monday the 20th.
Okay, so there's Hamaris, there's a discount, and Olayinka has a question. So is it compulsory to have IELTS to get admission, gain admission? I think that's what you're trying to say to school.
No, no, it's not. Most
Oh, it's
schools,
not.
no,
Oh,
most
okay.
schools don't require you to have IELTS. And now there's a Nigerian professor,
Mm,
Professor Gideon from University of Calgary,
okay.
who has challenged a lot of schools. I think about 5 to 8 schools now
Mm,
have dropped the IELTS requirement
mm-hmm.
for Nigeria.
Okay.
In the last year, so more schools are dropping because he keeps challenging them on that. So we have more and more schools dropping it.
Oh, okay. That's a very good one. Um, I was with the Minister of Culture last week, and one of the things we addressed, because he was speaking to a group of us, and one of the things he, talked about was um, how in areas that are lacking, especially the province of Alberta is trying to help. And I think there's been a partnership with Filipino nurses,
Mm,
and I know that in the UK, I don't know how they did it, but they poached a lot of Nigerian
Nigerians, yeah.
nurses. Canada is really in need of medical people, medical professionals, but a lot of people don't know how to go about it. Is there an easy path for medical people, to?
Not from Nigeria. So you see all those things where you have partnerships. There's a recent partnership with Hong Kong to, I think, extend their visas if you're already within the country.
Yeah,
It's not something like a company like us can do, at least not at this level.
yeah,
It's something that people within power, within our community,
mm-hmm,
advocates. It takes a lot of work behind the scenes. So those partnerships that they just did with Filipino, it didn't just happen overnight. There are people in power who are within that community that went to
oh, I see,
fight for that.
I see.
So people just think, oh, they just went to partner with Hong Kong.
Mm,
Do you know
mm,
how much China people invest and how much people are in authority and fighting to say, because they know that strategically,
mm,
if we do this, and some companies also want to come here to invest, millions of dollars, and they're like, okay, the condition for us to do this is you have to get this done. So there's a whole lot of that has nothing to do with, it's more of the advocacy
mm,
coming from the place of economic empowerment from those people within those communities
yeah,
that is happening for that. So right now there's no pathway to bring Nigerian anything. But now that Nigeria is also like number four,
mm,
I think that it's a conversation. Our current deputy minister of immigration is
mm.
Nigerian.
Oh,
So in Alberta, so those are probably things that would
is
start
that
to,
Madu or someone else?
no, that's
Okay,
Akko for decay.
okay,
So those are things that will start to happen now that we have, something like that to start advocating for, because it's an advocacy for the country. Then they partner up with the company
mm,
to now assist with that process. I mean, obviously we're trying to position ourselves for that, but yeah.
okay. What of for business people that are business people? How do they? What pathways are available now? Are there new pathways or still the same old ones? How money intensive it is, if people are looking to.
It is very money intensive. So if you are not a high net worth, and high net worth in this case
Mm,
starts from at least you having a $500,000 net worth, being, yeah, 300 to 500, depending on where you want to go. Having, one, also having up to over, we're doing the math for somebody recently. I think
Mm,
$250,000 to
mm,
invest in cash, in investable cash, and a
mm,
total net worth of about $500,000. If
mm,
you don't have that, then it's not even a conversation you want to start, because you would need that,
mm.
even for, even just working with, um, with because there's a whole lot of ecosystem. So when we, let's say we wanted to take on someone,
Mm,
we need a business consultant on that. We need a business lawyer on that, apart
mm,
from the immigration person. So you're looking at, and you know how these things are. You're looking at, even just for your retainer loan, you're looking at $40,000 at the minimum in most cases. Again, it depends on how intense it is.
mm,
So that's why I said it's an expensive pathway through and through. So if you don't, you're not a high net worth person.
mm.
However, there is a pathway for self-employed people
Okay.
in media,
Mm,
arts, entertainment, and recreational activities. So footballers, people in the sports field, not just people on the field, but like referees, coaches, and all of that, And you also have media arts. If you go on our website, if you go under the self-employed, under permanent residency, interested in a consultation, if you go on, you see all the list of roles.
mm.
But again, it's self-employed, but it's still under the business pathway. It's not as expensive
Yeah.
as the core business pathway, but there's still money involved. Now, the way it is there's no minimum requirement for that pathway,
Mm,
actually. It's based on, for instance, if I'm a writer, writers are also under that list. If I'm a writer and I'm self-employed, means you're not working for anybody right now and you make a good living
mm,
out of what you do. So let's say you're a writer
mm,
and you already make money from writing as a self-employed person. You
mm.
can use this pathway. You don't need, because all you need as a writer is your laptop.
Okay.
You don't need anything else, right?
Mm,
To write. So if you can show that, okay, based on this, my writing, I already have at least 2 years, and the pathway, actually you only need 35 out of 100 points,
oh wow.
which anybody can get in a sleep.
Yeah.
Even if you only have in high school,
Yeah.
the IELTS score, you can score a 4, you can
Mm,
score,
mm.
the only thing is it's a paper-based application. But again, if you're a writer and you're coming here, now you know that for express entry you're showing 6 months. For this one, you need to show a minimum of 1 year,
Okay.
proof of funds,
Mm,
right? Because you're self-employed. Even though nobody's going to stop you when you can get into, nobody's going to say, "Oh, give me your PR. Did you come in through self-employed? You can't get a job." No, but you must prove at the time of the application that I'm self-employed. I have a good portfolio, and when I come, I can establish myself as a self-employed person, not somebody that's coming to look for a job.
okay. Okay. I see.
So if you're looking at a single person now, express entry is 13,000 plus for a single person.
Mm,
As a um as someone that wants to use the self-employed route, you're looking at a minimum of that 26,000. But again, we all know now that, okay, you now need to say, okay, the things I'm going to use to establish myself,
yeah.
courses, you need a business plan, all of that for that pathway.
Okay. So before I go to Omotayo's question, Yinka has been here with us, and Yinka needs to know how to get started, like with you now. Since you have all this wealth of information, you've explained the French route. To be honest, I didn't even know of this one, that I could do the barest minimum in French and I can get a score that can still get me through instead of the English one that I need 480 something and all of that. So how should Olayinka reach you? They're asking for WhatsApp contact. I don't know the best way.
We don't work on WhatsApp. We do have a Canadian phone number. You can call in or email us, or Instagram to chat if you want to chat. But if you're okay to call, you can call. Or you can also message the Canadian number. It takes text messages. You know,
What's the number so we can put it
oh,
on the screen?
587
Okay,
887
okay.
2045 and +1.
So I'll add this. So I'm putting the number in the chat.
And then they can go to our Instagram, Shirah Khan, Shirah and CAN. Shirah can help you.
Shira can like this.
Yeah, Shirah can help. Yeah,
Okay,
on
so
Instagram, and then email inquiries with an S.
like this.
Yes, at
Okay,
shira.co. So those are the three ways to reach us.
Okay, so I've put them all there. And Omotaya, good evening and thanks for joining us. Omotaya is asking, please, if I come into Canada through a 2-year course study visa, what are my chances of remaining in the country and getting a work permit or visa after study?
Your chances are very great. A 2-year program, as long as it is a public college, because that's one of the mistakes people make. Private colleges are very expensive. They're more expensive than regular colleges, and they do not give you postgraduate work permit.
Okay.
So if you go to a private college, you are not going to be eligible. But if you go to a public college, even if you do an 8 months program in a public college, you are entitled. But the number of years you get is based on how many years or how your program is designated. So I came into my master's, and my master's was for a year, but it was designated as a 2-year program.
Oh,
So I
wow.
got a 3 years postgraduate work permit because the program was the most expensive in the school. So they said, okay, at least to compensate for how expensive it is,
Yeah.
then they designated it. It's the school that designates. IRCC does not care, does not challenge it. If so, we got a letter to that we added to our application. So if you find schools like that, even if you do like a 14 months program, that is not just 12 months, it's 14 months, you get 2 years or 3 years. Again, it depends on how the school, but the minimum you can get is 1 year and you can get up to 3 years. Please note one thing I also want to point out: you can never renew a postgraduate work permit. So be smart. If you want to come and do an 8 months program, yes, you can, but be smart about it because you only get 1 year. So your age, your family size, and all of that should guide you in if that's a smart move, for you to make.
Okay, so I think that addresses Omotayo's question. Hamaris, I don't know your name, I'll just call Hamaris. So you're asking more into the medical practitioner thing that I asked and you're explaining. And Hamaris is saying that they have a cousin in Calgary, which is where we're at, and no luck getting a job for almost a year. So as far as I know, there are hurdles in trying to convert from your Nigerian medical practice into the
Yeah,
Canadian one.
you can't
So
just convert, like you can't get a job as a doctor from overseas, from
just like
Nigeria.
that, okay. But I know people that are medical doctors and they are working anywhere they want to work because why I love this country particularly is you can come here as a medical professional and as a doctor you have transferable skills that you can use and
That
become a business analyst and earn a very solid
exactly.
living.
And you can take that and you can actually work in a pharmaceutical company or you can work in a medical field. And so you're still applying technical skills that you have,
Exactly,
but
exactly.
now in a different setting. In fact, I was having that conversation with someone who is what's the one for the eyes?
um
Um an
Optometrist.
optometrist. And I was saying that look, you can't, because she already did that math and she was like it was $500,000 that it was going to take her because you need to do it's even different for
What do you mean
doctors.
$500,000?
She said she did a research and you have to do like a diploma, like you have to do a conversion and upgrade. It doesn't matter what country you're from. For optometrists, you have to do an upgrade in Canada. Doctors don't necessarily need to do an upgrade, but they have to. And she was like, she looked as if the cost was like almost $500,000.
Okay.
And so I was telling her that look, what about thinking beyond where you are right now and saying, what are my transferable skills? Can I go and work in a pharmaceutical company that does drugs for the eyes? Can I take these same skills and work in a lab? Can I the different ways that you can,
Okay.
so
So Hamaris, I hope you're hearing what she's saying is that there are many medical jobs that you can do while trying
we're trying to I
to
know I
meet.
know I know someone who is who is a doctor, but again, he came in just before COVID and all of that. He works as a lecturer now. He's an assistant. He's a lecturer at University of Alberta, and he actually loves it more. So he's not even so bothered
About
about getting it. So it's like whenever it happens, but he will still take it because it's almost at the last lap.
yeah.
But it's just not like that bothered again. Because I always say it, and I don't know anybody's. Canada is an opportunity to redo. If you don't like the career path, some people are just doing what they do just because they they didn't really have a choice. And maybe some people are like, yes, they've been a doctor all their life, but maybe you want to switch into something else. This is the opportunity to redo that path.
Yeah.
Especially if you're coming through the school route.
Mm.
If PR is not an option, you're coming through the school route.
Mm.
Think about it strategically. What do I really want to do now? What career do I have? And what's the career of the future? Because those are the things like when we take on clients, we don't just say, and you want, no, we don't do like, no offense to people that do it, but you will never see us do someone for personal support workers. Because why do you want to come all the way from your country
Okay.
to Canada? And the reason is not behind, the reason is more sensible thing that that's the only option I have because of what somebody else has told them.
Oh, okay. So for me, I want to give a small story. People tend to listen to a lot of people that have just gone through one path, and you now think that's where you're
That's the
limited
only.
to.
So that's why, like, that personal support worker, when you ask people why, it's like, oh, that's the only thing we can do.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, who told you that? So again, Canada is an opportunity to redo your career. This person, I can't remember the person that was working in banking, right?
Mm.
Again, those skills are things you can transfer and say, okay, I want to go into business analysis, and you can even work, whether you work for a bank or you work for things, and we do a lot of things. Like, again, there's Canada is whatever you make of it.
Okay. So I know this one is not even a business analysis live,
It's
but
not a
but
business analysis
you
like,
see,
but I've seen a lot
yeah,
of people that have converted
from
through whatever it is that they've done, even data.
yeah,
We have somebody that she's studying at Durham College right now. She's from Ghana.
okay.
And I remember, I mean, when she came, she had not even really worked in her field, but
Mm.
she was just like, like she would like, because again, sometimes conditions back home does not even allow you to practice what you are. And by the time we did our school set, she could not qualify for a master's. And we now found it, she was like, she's in love with the course, like she
Yeah,
loves it so much.
yeah.
And now by the time she's done now, yes, it might maybe take a few, she just needs the right strategy,
Hmm.
and she will get the right job. And that 1 year, because it's only a 1 year program, it will be gone in no time. And this is somebody that was probably just doing a small job, working through the mom's
Mm.
company.
Mm.
But data analyst, no matter how bad it is, you start with 80K, because you can't
Yeah.
be a data analyst and be earning, very low. So those are things that.
80K, you multiply that by 550, that's how much you'll be earning in a year if you convert it to Nigerian naira.
Like, so again, I know that people look at it, it's going to take me a lot of time. But see, I've been in this space now since 2018. I've seen people, I know people that we recommended when I still used to consult. I recommended something for them. They're like, no, it's going to take, they're still in Nigeria.
Yeah.
They're still in Nigeria today.
Okay.
So even though
So
you're looking,
listen
yeah,
to
so
people
so
that know
even
what
though
they're
if,
talking
if
about.
even though, yes, you're looking at the time. See, time is going to go anyways. So I'm not so that same time that you're looking at, people are going to say, 6 months is going to go. A lot of people have recommended friends for them.
Yeah.
They still come back after a year. They're not like, okay, Bukky, I'm ready to. I'll just go and do school.
Okay. Everybody goes through that. I think we have another question from Wild Trust. Wild Trust would like Bukky to shed more light on the media route, as they have 6 years experience in this field and they would love to explore it.
So again, like I said, you must be self-employed. I would ask you to go read up, but I'll give you like an overview. Just go search for the self-employed route for media people. Now, the self-employed route for media people is also for like big entertainers. So let's say Davido or the likes of them wants to come now, they
Yeah.
can use that pathway, because that pathway, if you have 2 years, in an acclaimed thing, even if you don't like footballers and the likes of them, you don't even need to have a lot of money. But let's
Mm-hmm.
say you've been to the World Cup now,
Yeah.
you've been to the World Cup once or twice, that means that you've gotten to the top of your field. So again, you don't have to show too much money with that pathway. So I will now tailor it to what you have asked. Media now. So what part of media? Are you a filmmaker? Are you a producer? Are you a director? Do you work for a company? If you work for a company, this is not for you. You must work for yourself. Even if you work, you must show up
But people can get to do that. Now that you've mentioned, what's stopping anyone from going to
from going.
do? CAC
to
registration to set up
but to
themselves
sell it, but
as
you must not show that you have again. If let's say now you're a filmmaker and you want to come media, because I don't know what part of media it is,
White
but
Trust. Can you give more context? Can you give context to the, your role in the media industry? Yeah,
because like I gave an example now, someone who is a director
yeah,
needs camera, gadgets,
mm,
need all of that.
mm,
Meanwhile, a writer
mm.
just needs a laptop.
That's all.
So with any of the pathways, we need a business plan. We need to write a proper business plan.
Mm,
Let's say you're coming to Calgary, we need to
mm,
write a business plan that is tailored to Calgary.
mm.
Let's say you want to go to Ontario, we need to write a business plan that is tailored to Ontario,
Okay.
and it depends on the cost of living in Ontario. So that's why it's not just based on what is express entry. No, this
Mm,
is we're not using because those ones are like minimums. We now have to use the exact fee because we know those minimums are not going to work in real life scenario for you to settle into Canada.
okay. So, how long does this person have to be doing this?
2 years.
Two
You need
years.
2 years of experience. You need 2 years. You need to be able to show 2 years
Mm-hmm,
minimum
mm-hmm,
as a self-employed person.
mm,
And again, you need to have a good portfolio because in this case, when you're self-employed,
mm.
you don't have you don't have a resume. You don't have somebody that can vet you, that can give you a reference letter.
Yeah.
So the vetting is based on what you can provide. So typically, everybody in this must have a portfolio. First of all, if you don't have, we have to create a portfolio for you,
Okay.
which is a portfolio is all the things like let's
Oh,
say
so you can, long and short, you can just do the packaging for the
no,
person.
we can't necessarily do the packaging. Like you
Mm.
give us the information,
Mm-hmm.
and then we will create the portfolio. Like we will.
But
So when
isn't
I
that
say
packaging when you say like you create a portfolio for the person?
I am very careful to use
Use
that
that word
word,
packaging. Okay.
packaging, because
Okay.
people just think we would. No, we don't. You provide us with information, and we will make sure we present it properly, right? But you must have. We can't make up your work experience for you. You must have it already.
Mm.
Ours is now to take it and make sure it's presentable.
Okay.
I prefer that word than because when Nigerians hear packaging, it connotes something else.
Okay. So, a good friend of mine is asking, he say he's been applying for jobs on the job bank and so far is not yielding much fruit. Are there other channels for job seekers outside of Canada? This is from Vincent.
So
See, just give the easiest. Just
no, nothing. So
because I don't
you
know
know
how
what,
to.
you know
Yeah.
what? Job bank, most of the jobs are not real jobs that is out there for people.
Okay.
Why? A lot of employers already know that this role,
Mm,
I already have my candidates,
yeah.
but it's a requirement that they must put it on the job bank.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? They will put it on the job bank, but they're not going to call you because they don't need you.
Okay.
So the one of the better ways would be to go through Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed would have one of the better ways, even for
So
the person that wants
Indeed is Indeed.ca.
.ca, so indeed.ca. Indeed is one of the better ways because if an employer puts a job there and they say that they are, and one of the ways you can search is,
Mm,
maybe like that truck driver now, there's so many truck driver roles on Indeed.
okay.
And all you need to do is to reach out to the employer directly.
Mm.
Now, the challenge with people from coming from Africa, because we had a job opportunity um, last month
So my friend is in the tech field. In case you want to give context to
okay,
those types of jobs, yeah.
you can go to, I mean, you can also try Van Hack. Van Hack,
How's that spell?
VAN
Mm-hmm.
Hack. It's
HACK.
yeah. Van Hack a recruitment tech that they connect employers to potential employees.
Okay.
So Van Hack is a Vancouver-based company here,
Okay.
and they recruit for tech.
Oh, okay.
So they are a recruitment tech company.
And what you're saying is they can take people from outside of
Yeah, but
Canada
I mean it's
and
competitive. It's a tech.
it's competitive.
It's very competitive, right? So I don't know anybody, but I know that they exist. So you can always check Van Hack,
Yeah.
and sometimes they also have remote roles too. So if and some of their remote roles pay very well. So if you're
Okay.
not able to come in, you might want to take advantage of the remote roles that they do have,
Okay.
at Van Hack. The other ways for even these ones that he wants to, although it's harder because most employers they will usually go through a recruitment agency. They are international recruitment agencies that are assigned. So one of the ways you can go about it, but My experience in Van Hack is a bit open because I think, I happen to know someone that knows the founder, and they got one Nigerian person, and they were like, wow, the guy was so good. And now they are like trying to get more Nigerians, because the guy, and there was no communication issues and all of that. So they are really trying to get more Nigerians. So again, but you have to go there, you have to compete.
Hmm.
You probably have to do their premium version if you want to stand a better chance, because obviously, there's a free version, but you know how these things are. If you just do the free version, you may not make it.
Personally, I think this is really, really good information because, I mean, the question was really about the job bank, but I've got to learn now. Why didn't you say this when we started? So I've got to learn now that for people that are that have certain skill sets, like in technology, you can go to Van Hack. I've put the link in the chat, and there are remote jobs available. I'm aware that Nigerians have proven themselves for these types of roles, where they've done very well, and many Canadian employees sometimes start to seek people from a certain region, you understand, because they've proven themselves. So you can check that out and see the jobs that they have there. She has mentioned getting a premium account that it will yield better results.
It's me. I don't know anybody personally that used it, so I'm just giving a. I'm not endorsing them, but I know that obviously they're a
That's to
real
be said.
company.
Yeah. Okay. So we've gotten more context from Wild Trust. He's saying I'm just assuming here that it's a he, could be a she. So they started off as a production intern for musical videos and climbed up to a production manager. They are currently working as a freelance musical video, documentaries, and commercials producer, I would guess.
Okay.
So this sounds like quite the resume,
Yeah.
and obviously to be more than 2 years.
Yeah.
So, what
So
are the chances for
so it
actress?
seems to fit the bill. The good thing with the self-employed route is this. You are not waiting for anybody. Once you have your documents, you submit. It's not you don't need to be invited to apply. When you finish, it's a paper-based application. You package your
Where do
application.
they go to get all of that? Like, how do they get started? Someone that is
I mean, if they want to work with us, they get started with the consultation.
okay,
They choose the self-employed consultation, and then they get started. If you want to do this yourself,
okay,
then again, research.
okay,
What do they need? You need your
okay,
portfolio.
okay.
You need again, again, this pathway, like I am, there's no minimum, but it must be reasonable.
Okay.
There's no minimum funds requirement. But again, if I'm coming as somebody that wants to come and shoot music video, do I have my equipment? Or am I going to buy here? Those are things that you must show. Again,
Yeah.
if I'm a writer, that's why I keep giving. A writer is I need my laptop.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody. And even if as a writer, I can say I already still have my writing project. So I can show you contracts that I've signed for $5,000, $10,000. So that's enough. And I can show you my proof of funds and I'm good, and I can still come in here and contribute. But if I'm a producer, I'm a director, it's going to take a bit more time. So I still need a business plan to show how am I going to settle myself into this country as a
Okay.
self-employed producer and director. Where's my money going to come from? Do I need a studio space? Those are the things that must go into your business plan and a
Okay.
portfolio. Those two key things. If you and then we even need, we always get our accountant to do, if they don't have, to do a financial statement, because you must, because again, it's still under the business immigration,
Okay.
except a lower requirement.
Okay. So long and short of it is, doing this thing alone, because I know what it's like. You'd have to do all of that research. But seeing as this is something that you're very familiar with, they can start with a consult and you just guide them to the right path. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the other question I have is on someone's asking me, cooks, cooks and chefs, of which we have an abundance of them. Is there a path for those people looking to come to Canada?
So chef is a skilled trade.
No,
Cook
I didn't know that.
cook is not.
What's the difference between chef and cook?
Chef is more, you need actually to practice as a chef, you must have at least 1 year diploma
Okay, and then
in
for the
in
cook,
culinary.
what?
But the cook is like, because the cook reports to the chef, is the main person in the kitchen
Mm.
and instructs the cook on what to do. So it's not necessarily, so the cook doesn't really require, it's just a regular role. So again, for cook and chef, chef is under, I don't know if cook is under exclusive, but chef definitely. So it's skill trades.
Okay.
So it's whatever requirements work on skill trades is what works. Obviously, if you get a job, but that also right now I think the chef requirements for jobs have significantly gone down. There
Mm.
used to be there used to be a requirement or not requirement, but there used to be a lot of need to be because it's a high turnover role, not the chef, the
Mm.
cook role.
Mm.
There's a high turnover for people that come in here, but most times, obviously, if there are not enough Nigerian restaurants, they will most likely not bring somebody from Nigeria because unless like there's a sous chef or something like that, then they
Mm.
can bring in with those skills. Or most times they'll go to the European market to bring some of those chefs or cooks that they need.
Okay. It won't be fair if we don't discuss PNP, provincial nomination programs. And I want to phrase it this way to help, the viewers that are watching because I'm sure many people have asked the questions they want to ask. Guys, if you still have questions, please put them in the chat area. What I want to ask is for each province, can you detail which is the most in demand skill and what are the prerequisites for people to get started for those skills? Because many people don't know. As I can speak for myself as a Nigerian, I would have been able to do a database job. I could have done a software engineer job. I could have done a HRO job. I could have done a support job, and I would be able to have my job experience to back it up. So for each of the provinces, as far as you know, which roles you know, are the most in demand that people can get started?
I don't have everything in my brain, but I'll
Of
try.
course, of course. I mean, just
So Ontario is still my favorite amongst them.
okay.
Even though the requirements, because it's predictable, you kind of know what it is. Ontario has, again, they have four types of draws that go on in Ontario, even more than four.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that apply to people overseas are the human capital draw. The human capital draw, again, is for things that are in demand. They have tech draw, they have health draw, and sometimes
Tech,
they,
health.
yeah, and
Okay.
then sometimes they just do human capital stream. And human capital stream usually would have human resource. Human resource is one occupation, I don't know why,
Hmm.
but it's always in demand. In Ontario, I mean, when they do that particular deal, last year it was invited twice.
Wow.
Business development. So again, you're right that people can fit, and those are the things that I don't think we would have grown as a company if
Hmm.
we didn't know how to extract work experiences out of people
Yeah.
that was not you know, that was just not on the surface,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
We had to basically say, okay, based on this role, we can divide you into three. Because as you know, in Nigerian companies, sometimes people are doing three roles in one.
Yeah.
So the requirements was always, can you back it up? Can your employer give you a reference letter to back up this experience because you actually have it. It's just not on call.
Most times it's the case, and for companies where you have a generic job title, your job title can be software engineer, but you're doing support, you're doing IT support. So I think it falls between 2171, 2172, those
Those, yeah.
series. So I find that you can be able to pick the most appropriate based on what you're doing
I
and you get your
remember
employer
I
to
remembered in 2021 someone had booked a consultation. It was just like I've not gotten an invitation, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, this role, he was choosing a knuckle that was not in demand but was in tech.
yeah.
And I was just like, can you do this other role? He said, "Ah, that's actually what I do." So I'm like, why
Mm.
have you not? And then literally
Mm.
3 days after, he was so lucky that the timing worked. He
Yeah.
was just invited. So it's those things like, and that's why I say a consultation is a full service because some people just need a tweak and they are good on their own. Some people probably need somebody to hold their hands.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is, again, it depends on where you are. So those are the things where your work experience can be, you can be doing three different things, and it's being able to extract those things to be able, especially people that are in business fields. Business is also one of those occupations that is in demand, and
Mm.
because it's so generic,
Yeah.
you can twist it either ways. because there's always administrative of manager, there's always business manager, there's always in Ontario too. They did the draw again when they did all this draw, all of the human. Then there's also advertising. That person that is in media, depending on how many
That is, you're talking to speaking to Wild Trust.
yeah,
Yeah.
depending on the score, right? Because
Yeah.
again, Ontario, the only thing that kicks people out is the score because there's still a score requirement. However, there's media, advertising, and media professionals. Whether the manager or the officer is also in demand. Business again, I think there are like three or four not codes that are attached to business. So and there are ones that are attached to manager. So it's like, okay, this manager role, because other business services manager is one role that, okay, we can always fix people in regarded, because other
Yeah.
can be anything. So again, you can play around with things. You just need to know how to play around with those things. So those business admin type human resource people that do admin, that do a bit of HR, because a lot of admin people still working, still do some bit of recruitment. You can use human resources officer, for instance. And a human resource officer too can also use an admin because they do a lot of administrative role.
Yeah.
So, so those things are in demand. I would say human resource, business, apart from the tech and the health that I mentioned in Ontario. Then, of course, the French draws are there for Ontario.
Yeah.
Then for Saskatchewan, I don't, because they keep changing them. It's not as consistent as it used to be. But one thing I would say is engineering is a no-go area. They've never invited most engineer, no, never since they started in
That's
2018.
not fair now. All skills matter.
Yeah, all skills matter. Let's go and write. But they've never invited them. But you'll find again, human resources, business, skilled trades people have a good chance in Saskatchewan. Skilled trades tech actually is not in demand in Saskatchewan.
Wow.
It's not in demand
Is it
yet.
because of all their
No, they don't.
fertilizer
Yes,
plants and
because
all
how
this?
many tech companies are in Saskatchewan, right? So there's no demand for it. So you will not find tech roles.
Okay.
So, but if you're looking at again this human resource admin, this type of roles, especially people that work at the bank, people that work in offices, people that work in operations, you there's always room because again you can have I can extract 5 job titles for most people if they work in generic roles. Again, it's now how things are. So that would be it for Saskatchewan because every other province requires a job offer. Alberta is good now, but it only favors people that have a job offer. Or if you're considering school, Alberta is a good place to come now because there's a pathway to become a permanent resident immediately. For instance, if you finish school in Alberta, whether you do a 1 year, a 2 year program in Alberta,
That's the
you
best province in Canada, by the way. Okay, continue.
if you finish school, then after 6 months, once you get a job, and actually even customer service roles now qualify, NOCCs and NOCCDs
Oh, really?
now actually qualify under the new pathway. So
So if you're doing customer service in Nigeria,
no, if you're doing like if you get a job here,
if you
let's say
get
you
a job
come,
here, okay,
yeah,
come,
let's say you
okay,
come.
okay,
I'm talking
okay.
about people that come through
That
school
come through
now.
school, okay, okay,
That
okay.
there used to be no option for
For
them,
them, okay, I
especially if you're
see, I
doing
see,
a
I see, I see, I
now
see.
there is an option for you because again, even if people are doing like starter jobs or whatever before they get their main job, you're still qualified. If let's say now you do a um again, if you're already in here, they have some requirements that I don't know offhand, but Alberta has one of the best pathways to become a permanent resident regardless of your age. Now, once you're done with school, the Atlantic region, which is Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Islands, are also good, especially for older people, who may feel like expo century may not work for me.
So you're talking about, say, 35 and above?
Yeah, and they also have some are very affordable. They have, if you're looking for affordable schools, they
So
have
that was what we
very
were talking in the beginning. So the affordable schools in the
but
Atlantic
see, but
provinces.
again, affordable is very relative.
Okay.
So when I'm talking affordable is still $16,000. But
Okay.
there are still programs in other provinces that are $22,000. So there's a community college, I think, I can't remember which one. Most of their programs are around $11,000. So
Wow.
people that are like, I really cannot afford to send them there. And they have a pathway for becoming a permanent resident once you're done with school. BC now also British Columbia also has a pathway. So most of the other provinces apart from Ontario and Saskatchewan, every other province you now have BC, the Atlantic region and Alberta. Once you're done with school, there is a pathway so that even if Express Entry is not working, you are not going to be stranded because if you get provisional nomination by Canada cannot not give you an invitation when
Invitation.
you have because it's either you're applying through Express Entry or you go and submit paper-based application. And paper-based application is not based on Express Entry. You just go and submit a paper. Or
Okay.
it only takes longer with the paper-based. That's the only difference.
Okay, guys, so I've done the math, and the 11,000 she mentions, for example, that's like somewhere 5.5 million naira. I don't
Well,
know.
it's mostly going to be a 2 year program.
Okay, okay. So yearly, that's 5.5 million naira for studies. I know people that will take this amount and then they will go and plan. I mean, we've been seeing an influx of Nigerians in the UK, and they have courses that are even more expensive than this. So I'm glad you mentioned the Atlantic provinces, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, and
Newfoundland, Memorial University of Newfoundland, for instance, they have some. I think I can't remember what we're checking, but we found a school for $6,000.
okay,
A
six
program for
thousand.
6,000, but
Okay.
it's one of those rare ones.
So while Trust, I know you're asking if you could use a short course in video production to come over. I don't know what Buki's answer to that would be and where you can find any of these courses. So when you say short course, I'm guessing you mean
A short course has to still be 1 year if it's going to be relevant for you to stay back, right?
okay.
If you come and do a program that is less than 8 months, well, 1 year technically is 8 months in because that's 2 semesters, right? So let's say you come in January, you're done by August because another so that's still a short in quotes, a short but still 1 year because if it's less than 1 year, you don't get a postgraduate work permit. So if you want to come, then come and do that 1 year. Ontario has the best or more
In video
affordable in
production
video
and
production
filming,
and
yeah.
film
Okay.
and all of that. Ontario has the best. If you come, Alberta too has it, but they are more expensive.
Okay.
SAIT has, NAIT has, but SAIT has very good programs. Alberta in terms of film is still not, it's still growing. So in terms of jobs and all of that in the media space, if you really want to practice, Ontario might be a better place for you to go to school.
Okay. So I think we should start wrapping things up now. I don't know what because I guess we've exhausted all of the questions. I don't know what your final thoughts would be to give to everyone that has listened in terms of how they can reach out to you. Because for me, I don't know all of this stuff. You're the professional. So if you can just do a recap and
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, like, I know there are 80 plus pathways to come to Canada, but there are two main pathways to come to Canada. It's either you're coming to Canada as a permanent resident or you're coming to Canada as a temporary resident. And so all those 80 plus pathways are subdivided into these two main categories. So it's for you to determine what is the fastest, easiest, more affordable, most reasonable path for me. Does it make sense for me to spend the next 1, 2 years in Nigeria or wherever you are, preparing to come? And one thing, if you decide that you want to plan ahead and you don't want to come through the school pathway, keep in mind elections are in 2025. One election, immigration is tailored based on the party that comes in. If the party changes, which is almost looking likely, but if the party changes, for instance, immigration is not going to be this French option that I keep shouting about, it will be gone for the most part because the liberals brought it. Conservatives don't necessarily care about French option per se. So just keep in mind that if you want to come, even if you come this year now, already if you're finishing in 2025, your immigration option is, well, obviously if you come to school, you still have a path. So I'm just saying as you think about this, think about the economic political landscape too. So whatever decision you want to take, you want to take, okay, what is the fastest or the path that I want to do? If you want to take French, don't say you wait till next day. If you want to do, you might as well do it now.
Start.
Otherwise, come to school. So, and if you're coming in as a family, think about it. You have to, if you want to come with your entire family, not just the financial part of it. Someone like Henry can speak to bringing family here before you're financially ready to. Most people that we recommended not to bring their family, they're thanking us for that. They brought their family after they were able to settle in first, provide basic things before bringing their family, and it became a better decision. Some people are like, no, I don't want to leave my family, and they come here. Every time I go on Instagram on the Nigerian Canadian page,
Mm.
people are saying they are going almost going crazy because they don't have a life, because they're going to school and they have kids. So again, yes, you want to bring your family, but what is the most reasonable thing? So in all of these things I've just said, at the end of the day, do what is the most reasonable thing, not just because I can't leave my family, or because I must come through PR. I don't want to wait for school. Is PR your right way? Is school your right way? Whatever that looks like for you, make a decision. And of course, come work with us. Some of you might just need a consultation to get you on the right path. There's so many people in Canada today that, in fact, they are our best referral people. But all they did was a consultation. But they always, when people get stuck, they say, just go to Shirah. Or maybe you need to work with us and you need to figure things out. Maybe some of you will qualify, but you need to get some kinks out. Whatever that looks like, we're here. We have immigration consultants with a different level of skill set to help you on our platform. So come work with us. We would love to have you. Our phone number, email, I guess, to be added to
Yes,
this.
I've put it in the chat, but after the live, I'll save the video. You still have the video available, and I'll put all of Bukky's details in the description. I know I haven't said this because I don't do much of these live streams. Hopefully, I'll start doing them now. Please like the video, and then for those of you that are here that haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Um, yeah, hopefully, I'll start making more. People have asked me to make more content about Alberta. The last video I made on Alberta was 2 years ago on why I chose to come to Alberta than other provinces. So if you haven't watched that video, you can check in my video catalog and watch that. Seeing as we have no more questions and I still have 11 people here with me that overcame our early technical difficulties. I thank you all for being here with us. I thank you all for still sticking when we weren't sure we're going to have this live. So I would say check out all Bukky's contacts, look at the charts to see the questions we've answered, and then reach out for your consultation. So until the next time, thank you guys. Thanks Bukky too for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.